emergencies, so. Here we go. I'm a little nervous about her teacher army being funded by Oprah.
I ask, but they don't always respond.
Good evening, Governor Moore and Cabinet. Delighted to be here. My name is Sean Harris, I'm principal of Gateway Elementary School. And the presentation I'll do for you tonight is information that I've gathered over the last few weeks from the school principals that have really kind of sparked some conversations about what we have on our campuses and what we do as a district. So I'll kind of lead you through some of the reasons we do what we do, and then what exactly we do. And if you have any questions along the way, please stop me. So the rationale when we looked at it was, one of the reasons we started to use after-school programs was parents were asking for after-school programs because they had a need for their students or their children. All my notes are gone, so we'll see how I go. A need for their children after school, either academic or just to kind of have them watch while they were still at work, was one of the reasons that we put these in place. The second was to provide that safe and that healthy environment and add the academic piece to it if it was asked for by parents. You make it smaller. One of the things we looked at, and I looked at some research early on as to why these are important and what gains we were actually seeing. One of the groups that I looked at was CASEL, which is the Consortium for Academic, Emotional, and Social Learning, which is a big piece of the 21st Century Grant research and the after-school programs that we have at Gateway and used to be held at Capital also. And the other one that we looked at was After School 3 p.m. website, what's kind of going on, which is a recent research article that came out that was actually sponsored by JCPenney's, but gave you some research on why the after-school programs are important and who they matter to. Part of the research talked about Hispanic and African-American parents and parents in Title I positions. And it stated that 50%, you can see it up there, 61% of African-Americans and 47% of Hispanics, if they had the chance, would enroll their children in these after-school programs if they were provided on their site. And then if it goes down, similarly, 50% of parents that were in Title I schools on SES, free and reduced lunch, would enroll their children in the academic piece of it also, or just the social side sometimes. They're not actually looking for the academic piece, because they feel like their children have gone to school for 6.5 hours. They need some time just to kind of relax. So you'll see some other programs that pop up that aren't totally academic, but have a social or emotional side. All right, so when we look at the programs that are provided by most or all of the school sites, the first thing we looked at, and I tried to look at two different things, what is provided, and then what the cost was to the parents, and then who was providing those pieces. So the ones that were provided at most or all of the sites were the after-school sports, and that kind of came out of a discussion that we had several years ago when we were talking about budgets, and as our budgets were being cut. Many of the APs and principals saw the after-school sports as a very important part. Many of our families don't have the opportunity or the money to participate in after-school sports because they become very expensive. So us having after-school sports on our site were very important to the parents and the administrators on the site. So at that point, that's provided by the district staff. The coaching is done by the district staff. And I think pretty soon you're going to hear a conversation about the refereeing being done by district staff possibly also. So no cost to families that way. Battle of the Books is kind of seeing a resurgence. I'm really excited about it. I think we'll be back at 7 of the 9 schools this year. And that works from 3rd grade through 8th grade. So it's kind of split up 3rd, 4th, and 5th. They have one coach. 6th, 7th, and 8th, they also have a coach. And then they meet twice a year to have the battle. Depending on the site, they decide how many times they're going to meet. So some sites talked about meeting once a month to talk about the books they've read. Some are just kind of getting off the ground like Gateway. So we're going to try to meet twice a month to start it off and really get the program rolling. And then after that, we might taper off and go to once a month as they start to read more and more books. Junior ambassadors, and we have Germany and the Washington DC program. That's available to 6th and 7th and 8th. The Washington DC program, when I talked to some of the sponsors, the training for that starts in October and usually is once a week up until the time that they go to Washington DC. And then the Germany portion is usually twice a week, and that includes academic pieces of it. So they're actually learning German, they're learning the social etiquette of Germany. So,
Mr. Hannafin, do we have 21st century grants still to provide 21st century after school centers? Oh, sorry. Is that what that look was for? Yes.
Yeah, no, I can say. One site at this time still does have 21st century grant, we'll get to it in a little bit. For a while, we did have 2 sites that had it. There was a 3rd site that was thinking about writing it, but didn't have the staff to teach it in school because of other things that were kind of going on.
Okay.
Kids Rock.
Continue.
Kids Rock at this time is a new sponsor they have. They have Kohl's actually besides PCH. So they're actually helping with the t-shirts and some of the sponsorship that goes with it. That allows for either before or after school, because we talked about it a little before, and trying to figure out what we do before school. There still are some sites that offer a before school running program for students. So the PE teacher might be out there and they run several laps and people mark them off as they're gearing up towards that 25th mile or 26th mile that they actually get to run on one of the courses. They added 2 new races last year. One was at Phoenix Cardinal Stadium and one was at Grand Canyon College. And it was more of an obstacle race that you see adults getting involved in a little bit more on a smaller students. So they have walls that they have to jump over. And it was amazing to see the parents that came out for that. Because all the students came up us, and the parents met them out there, and were celebrating the fact that they were doing athletic things on a weekend.
I'm sorry, so Kids Rock is not, it's sports.
Is it sports?
It's sports. It's
Yeah,
all sports. Okay,
it's
because
all running.
it
correct.
sounds like rock and roll.
Yeah,
I thought it
yeah.
was.
It was originally tied to the Rock and Roll Marathon, where the name Kids Rock came from. So it sounds a little musical now that I
Yeah,
think of it,
that's
right?
right.
But originally it was started by Kids Rock, or the Rock and Roll Marathon. They launched their sponsorship with them, and they just kept the Kids Rock piece, and then moved in some different things. Parks and Recreation, Dr. Boyle kind of talked a little bit about it at this point. City of Phoenix has kind of contacted us, has contacted us about being on multiple sites. I think we're on 5 sites now. We have the possibility of all 9 sites attending something. 4 of them will have transportation to that site. Papago is pretty close to the Gateway site, so they actually could walk over if they chose to. No parents have actually asked for transportation at this time, but I'm sure if they did, we would entertain this conversation. PAC is 30 to 50, depending on what site you're on. So some sites that are south of, most of the sites that are south of Indian School are $30 per quarter, and the site that is north is $50 per quarter. It's incredibly reasonable. I think I broke it down for our site, and it's about 77 cents a day. That's something you're gonna find in the places. Playworks is in 5 of our schools, no, 5 of our schools. 6 out of 9 of our schools this year. We added 2 new schools this year, I believe. There's some new pieces to go along with it as we're kind of moving into it. I'll talk about the coaching pieces we've done a little bit. The junior coaches is something that, as I talked to Dr. DeMar about it, they had it last year, and it'll be the first year at the other sites. Specifically working with 5th grade students, identifying 15 students that might have some social or emotional pieces that they're trying to decide which side of the fence they want to be on. So you teach them to coach students that are 1st through 4th grade during recess time, and that allows them to kind of build that self-esteem and then move on. And what you'd hope to see is then they go back and they become coaches with their own classmates as the process goes on. One of the things they have talked about, and I don't believe it's there yet, is doing the same thing with 8th grade students, and them actually going down and coaching 6th grade students. So, you know, 8th grade coaching 6th grade, 5th grade coaching those other students. We're in the process of picking those students right now, so the students are very excited to kind of find out who's going to pay for that coaching piece. That's Playworks. That's picked up by the cost of either the school or in some cases PTOs, and there's no cost to the family for Playworks at this time. They're also running some rec leagues after school for the primary students, so soccer and football are two of them I believe they're starting off with, because we really don't have a lot of after-school sports for our primary students, and that's one of the things that the parents are asking. That's a question.
So Playworks is running the sports programs you're talking about? Or
They
they're
do,
just,
they do, from what my coaches told me, they will have rec leagues is what they're calling them. So they're soccer and football, I believe, to start off with, for the primary students.
oh, just for the primary students? Okay, and the fifth graders are the coaches for them?
No, the fifth graders are actually coaches during recess.
Playworks
So-
is junior coaches. Okay.
So during recess time, they will coach them to go out and actually work with several of the young students on the same games that they're learning to play in their grade level, but taking it to the primary level and helping to coach them. Student council is continuing at most sites, 3rd through 8th grade. I did have my own children come home and talk about how excited they were to possibly run for student council and what a big job it is and why our kindergartners involved in student council, and we had some really great discussions around that. But it's one of those pieces where several students, and sometimes it's the students you don't expect, step up to run for student council and help make some decisions for the school that really are very impactful. And last year, I had the chance to see the district jazz band come back into play. If you were there, I think we were all there. We got to see them, and I remember being a student teacher about 20 years ago in the district and seeing the student jazz band, just being in awe of how amazing they were, and how many students probably went on to be college players or at least high school, through high school. And this year, I think, Dr. Barker, you know, we have maybe, James, 20 students involved?
Approximately 25 to 28, right around there.
And so that will be open to all band members. They'll be able to try out and become part of the district jazz band, and then have continuing practices as the jazz band, where the district will actually pick them up and take them to a location where they can all practice together. All right, so I'll go on because I know my slides so well. The next site that we're actually looking at is Creighton School. And the group they have is the junior youth group. We're talking to Mr. Diaz. That's a group for 6th through 8th grade that's actually sponsored by Creighton staff or retired Creighton staff that are coming back, building leadership opportunities for the 6th through 8th graders. And they meet with them 2 times per week, which is pretty amazing to have retired people coming back to work with students because they care about the site and they used to. And really building that leadership potential in our middle school students. And hopefully it carries on to high school years and they come back and support us as senior school. Excellencia School, and talking to Ms. Bird, they had the ELD pre-emergent. It was provided by the Excellencia staff with no cost to the family. And then the middle school homework club was also no cost to the family. That one's pretty self-explanatory for the students who are needing the larger support. And looking at Gateway, this is to speak to what Mr. Jewett talked about a little bit. We still do have our 21st Century Grant. We have 1 more year before we have to rewrite for it. The liaison that came back and spoke to us said you really should rewrite for it. I know it's very competitive with the things you have going on. We'll probably carry you through for several years. It probably impacts another 100 to 150 students on our site that receive things that include academics, but technology practice, cooking, theater, arts. So it's kind of all over the board where we get the teachers to come in. And the students have to be doing well academically to be in there, and it's expected that they do some academics during the 21st Century courses. And that's a federal part. It's paid by the federal government, so it's no cost to the families. Crazy Cats is something new to us. We do have the Jayville baseball field on our campus. It was not being used very much, so Crazy Cats started to use it. They were paying the district to actually use the field. They are taking care of the field now, I think at a decreased rate because they're taking such good care of the field, they're actually getting a decreased rate on their rent. They are interested in starting once a week a district girls fast pitch softball team. If you look at the rates for those, it's pretty pricey. So to get girls from all of our schools that actually get a chance to participate on something that's very competitive like that would be very unique. Opportunity through baseball started 2 years ago at Larry C. Kennedy School. It recently was picked up by the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the coaching piece is done by the Arizona Diamondbacks, so they do about an hour of tutoring in the classroom, and then they go out and they learn about the fundamentals of baseball. With baseball players coming in and teaching those to them, they meet on weekends and Saturdays, and then down the line they meet off campuses and play sandlot Saturday baseball games against the Baltimore School District. No cost to the families as well. So Pathways to Peace we'll see twice. It's actually on 2 campuses. They're there once a week for karate. It is no cost to the family. It's actually the mother of one of the teachers at Gateway Elementary School who used to be, her sister used to be a nurse there also. And their whole premise is you cannot use the karate on the campus. You have to be doing well academically. They have to fill out forms they bring to their sensei so they can see that they deserve to be in the class. And then the goal is to have those students come back and be teachers. So we have 2 that are at Kennedy right now that are actually graduates and are going on to college that are now coming back and teaching at Pathways to Peace College, or Karate Peace College. The Wake Up Club is sponsored by the Phoenix Police Department through a Wake Up grant. It's the Cease Violence that we talked about before, so anti-gang. Usually after school on most sites, they do weekends events. Usually there's one weekend event they have to do where it's a neighborhood cleanup working at St. Mary's Food Banks. And at this time, there'll be 2 sites, I think ourselves and Loma Linda will be the second site that will actually have some. And then Boys and Girls Alliance is Southwest Behavioral. They are meeting twice a week with students that we identified that are just having problems socially in the class. So they meet for about an hour, a boys group and a girls group, and just talk about issues that they may have. Their whole goal is to exit the students from that program and then try to get new students, because we all know we have students that sometimes have social and emotional issues at home, but aren't sure who to talk to, and the parents aren't quite sure where to look for help. So they feel very comfortable having someone on the same.
Sean, the opportunity through baseball, that's only at LCK?
At this point, it's at Larry C. Kennedy and Gateway. As they've just been picked up by the Arizona Diamondbacks, I'm sure that every
And that's
school.
just a few months out of the year, right?
Yeah, it is January, February, March. So it's when because it's Arizona Diamondbacks staff, it's when they're not participating in actual games. So that's why it's a little bit shorter. Loma Linda School, like I mentioned before, this will be their first year, correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, to have the City of Phoenix Wake Up Grant back. They have an excellent SRO who, as Jeannie knows, is not as comparable to ours, but ours is pretty amazing at Gateway. But I know Bernie well, and he's someone that will really lead that group. And our dream is to kind of work together with the 2 schools and do events where those neighborhood cleanups aren't just a Gateway event, but maybe a Creighton School District event, and maybe include the Builders Club UFC. Young Champions Karate and Young Champions Soccer, they're provided, the staff is the Young Champions staff. There's no cost, there is a cost to the family. It's $7 per week in one case and $7 per class. So with karate, every class you come to, you pay $7. If you're interested in the soccer, it's $7 per week.
Doesn't Loma Linda have Playworks also?
They do. So that was in the very first slide, and it said at all or most schools. Larry C. Kennedy has a Builders Club, which is pretty comparable to the Wake Up Club. It doesn't have a lot of the anti-gang piece, but it has a lot of the leadership pieces that go along with it. It's sponsored by the Kiwanis. They actually pay for the site leaders to be there, which are usually district staff personnel. Usually 7 to 8 grade teachers that meet with them. When I was there, it was 2 times a month and 1 weekend a month. So you can see they're the ones that adopted the 28th Street here. They do neighborhood cleanups. They walk up and down, make sure it's clean. Then they have events where they go and clean up parks also, like Los Olivos, once a year. They go clean up. And then work at various senior centers around town. Girl Scouts is at Kennedy this year. I'm sorry, the Boys and Girls Alliance, which is the Southwest behavioral piece also. They actually started, and I think moved over to Gateway Casino, which was possibly at this time. Girl Scouts is there. I think this is their second year at Kennedy. It's $137 for a whole year for the students. And I think that just covers some small incidentals like camping trips and those kind of things. Opportunity for baseball, we already talked about before. The Arizona Diamondbacks sponsor that. No cost to the family, and they had a chance to get a glove, hat, and shirt. So a lot of the pieces that go with it beyond just the fundamentals. And then the Pathways to Peace Karate moved from Gateway over to Kennedy in two locations. The Pathways to Peace is only Tuesday nights at Kennedy, and I believe it's only Monday nights. Mackin is doing something a little bit different. We kind of broke theirs out by when they're doing it. So they have many activities happening, but they're either one time a month or 2 times a month. There's 2 that you'll see up there that are under construction, so they're looking to see if they have the staff and the funding to do those pieces. The yearbook club is a piece that meets once a month, so they start to take pictures, they start to write the articles, they put it together, and then at the end you have a published piece for them. Art club, they have some fantastic art teachers there. If you've been around the Mackin campus, they're kind of the artistic school. You know, they've always been that way, so I'm glad to see that carrying on. The dance club and the cooking club, so that's sponsored by staff, Mackin staff, and there's no cost to the family at that point. Drama club actually meets twice per month, and that's Mackin staff with no cost to the family. And then the book club, Julie here. Can you talk a little bit about the book club?
Yes, it's going to be 2 book clubs. One is going to run through the librarian after school, and she's going to work, she's going to have an upper grade book club where they're doing kind of like they'll choose a book and kind of do like an adult book walk through the book. We're going to have a primary one also. And then we're also going to just, I found out today that one of our upper grade teachers wants to do what's the other book club you guys just talked about?
Battle of the Books.
Books. I'm sorry, yeah, Battle of the Books. And then the chess club also will be an after school, run through the library, or bringing in high school students to come back and with some volunteers and start up a chess club.
So that would put us at 8 of our 9 schools back with that, which is something we haven't seen in a while. Chess club, I think, is something that interests a lot of people, trying to find that time, if it's in the schedule, something I see. Papago School has tutoring that they offer 1 time a week, I believe it's every Thursday. And Smart Health is a large business that's on McDowell. They actually come over and do the tutoring with some of the Papago staff. It's there, no cost to the family, and they usually identify students that need that little extra help piece and meet with them with Papago staff on to make sure that they're safe and everything's reliable. Something unique to them this year, they're bringing it back, is the open library till 4 o'clock. And the computer lab open to 4 o'clock. That's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in both cases. And that's run by the Papago staff. I think there's a lot of sites that used to have something like that. It's just kind of fallen apart, but it's glad to see that. This is something I want to talk about. Fillmore Prep. Chess is sponsored by the Chess Emporium, and the cost is $169 per quarter in that case. They also have the Billmore Singers Club. That's sponsored by the club staff at $70 per quarter. Piano lessons offered by the piano company. They have to provide the staff, we provide the location, $70 per quarter. They have a Lego robotics piece, which I actually heard some of the parents talking about back here, seeing if it was still going on. And that's actually sponsored by the parents, and there's no cost to the child or the family at that time. 18 Fitness, I think, used to be in the cafeteria. I'm not sure where it's held at this point. It's just it's a very CrossFit, coming from Wrong Fit, like a CrossFit for kids kind of thing. So it's showing them how to do a lot of things with their bodies that they don't usually do, and putting them through some pretty rigorous events outside, and the kids seem to be loving it when I walk over to pick up my lunch. Boy Scouts, Scout staff provide that. It's $137 per year, same cost as the Girl Scouts at Kennedy. K3 intramural soccer, I believe they have 2 seasons. They have a fall and a spring season, run by the PTO and parents, and it's a $45 cost for that if you get things to the field, and the uniforms and all the pieces to go with that, and they provide medals and trophies as the year goes on. Choir, VPA staff, there's no cost to the family for that one. Violin, my own children were involved in this last year and kind of liked it. One really liked it, one liked it a little bit. But $150 a quarter plus the violin rental, so whatever that might be. Spanish time is due to VPA this year. So that offers some after-school care and Spanish tutoring in that case, and that's $225 per month for the child. I think there's a discount if you have a second child that attends. And then Mandarin class, Faith and I were just talking about this. It's third, what do we decide? Kindergarten through 5th grade. Let's see that one. I believe it was twice a week, and it's $240 per session. And that goes back, you have it on there in case you wanted to look it up or use the research. I know we use quite a bit of it, the CASEL information for the 21st Century Grant when we're going back and writing the reports. And the After School Alliance, the What's Going On After 3 p.m. was the new site that I found that really provided some good information. Gave some unique ideas about possibly what we can do in the future to provide after-school activities for our students. So, thank you very much. Questions, please?
I have a quick question. So thanks, that was really informative, and it's nice to see all the great things that are happening after school. One thing that I did notice that, aside from maybe BPA and Mackin, the fine arts kind of seem to be lacking a little bit. And I was just thinking, Annette brought Calle 16 over, and I just feel like perhaps we could look into that being a really good partnership for an after-school program in one of our schools that are where it's heavily graffitied. So I just, I'd like to see more fine arts. And I wonder, does that happen with the 21st Century? Is there like drama or
There's drama, there's arts,
Okay.
both classes.
And the 21st Century Grant is at Gateway? Right. But only Gateway, I'm saying.
At this time, only.
Right.
And do we just need grant writers to write it for the other schools, or?
I'm sure that would help.
Has
You
it?
need grant writers, and then you need people that want to stay after to run the 21st Century program also. So it goes beyond the school day till.
Well, I know about it because when I've done residencies at schools,
Sure.
that's what they've used as the 21st Century money to pay me, is in addition to whatever else, so.
In most
I would have
cases,
been, yeah.
every time that I've worked with them, we also have to have a staff member.
Yeah, and you have to pay the staff member, yeah.
Well, not just have them stay. So not even the pay part, but you're staying from 3:30 to 5, and then you're going home to lesson plan and do all the other things. Gateway's, we're excited that we have it, and I'm sure other schools might be excited about that also. And the arts program, I think we're all supporters of the arts, so if there's a way to get it back into our schools, I think every single campus would love it, because sometimes we don't have children that are taken to the art museum or the science center as much as we. Or just finding a way for the art museum to come to us.
Right.
Very different experience.
I also noticed that some of the schools really didn't have much, just had maybe once a month something or twice a month something. As far as, it looks like Biltmore Prep Academy is about the only one that there's probably something going on every day after school for kids. But that's, I guess,
21st Century Grant.
it's every day. But didn't you say you definitely have that? Okay. So that one's every day.
Once sports, after school sports starts, 6th to 8th grade, it's every day.
Do we have a copy of this on our docs at all? I couldn't find it. But, okay.
The board, the presentations, you have to go under the library tab.
I did it, there's nothing under the library. Okay, well, anyway,
Might have been recently.
so in Gateway, okay, so So one of the sports at Gateway, the kids have to pay for it, or a couple of them, they have to pay. And,
At Gateway, I don't believe we have any.
Is any, okay. The Lego robotics that wasn't costing at Biltmore Prep Academy, you said that's because there's parents that are putting that on? Is there staff staying after to pay
For
out
the
the
Lego,
parents?
for the Lego. Our first year, we did have a teacher, but this year it's run all by parents, and then we also have a partnership with high school, and we have high school students coming in because they are actually a part of their Lego robotics club on their high school, and they come and mentor our children.
That just sounds so exciting, and it really sounds like it would be really exciting for other kids at other schools. And, you know, I know the book club sounds really neat too, but, you know, I know some of the kids that, because, you know, I'm in the neighborhood and I ride my bike all over the neighborhood, so I see a lot of the kids. And I know some of them probably aren't so much interested, and, you know, you can't really get them in with a book club, because maybe a lot of them parents don't read books, unfortunately. But robotics, oh yeah, you get them in with robotics. That would be really neat if that was possible. But I noticed the choir was also no cost to parents, and it was staff at Biltmore Prep Academy, and I'm wondering if that could be a little bit more at other schools too. I don't know.
Yours is run after school. Most of us, I think, run our choir during the school day.
Oh,
I don't.
My music teacher is a 0.5, and so she chooses to do the choir after school. So that works just better for their schedule.
So at other sites, they may have a hole in their schedule someplace and be able to pull the choir students during the school day. So it's actually not an after school.
I had another question about student council. Do you, when I was in Creighton School District as a teacher, there wasn't really like a curriculum for student council, and it's just a thought, you know, like it would be, you know, at Phoenix Union, they kind of take it to a higher level, and you know, it's a little bit more about a popularity contest, you know what I mean? I think probably individual student council sponsors will make it about something more than just sponsoring the dances and finding a DJ and that kind of stuff, but I was just, you know, just kind of throwing it out there, like it would be really nice to work on like social action projects the same way that, say, Wake Up Club does, you know, with student council. I know that's not uniform throughout the district, but it would be, I think, a nice, you know, and then getting them involved in other issues that might be happening in their community, or partnering up with, you know, like a retirement center or something like that, and doing pen pal. I don't know. I just feel like
I think you're right on.
Yeah.
The difference with student councils is third grade, right?
right,
Where with Wake Up, you're usually doing
bigger kids, the older
So
kids.
you can still teach them,
Mhm.
just like we might do with Playworks on how to coach the younger students. So I think it's a great idea. And something we'll try to do.
And then also with robotics, and again, this is just something I'm thinking about, but I know that Camelback has a robotics team. And I wonder if, like, you know, talking to Dr. Geston over there and thinking about, you know, because most of our kids feed into Camelback anyway, right, or north, right? So perhaps thinking just in the future about something like that, where bringing it to all of our kids.
Phoenix Country Day School also has one.
Mm,
And work with their district.
So I just want to say thank you to all of our teachers and staff that helped make all of these after-school programs possible, because obviously, in addition, like you said, to their regular load and all of the work, and then having to go home and plan and prep and grade assignments and think about how to create great instructional units there, coaching and supporting kids in the developmental assets that we have. So one, thank you to everybody who engages in this kind of work. I would love to see if, I mean, my experience in a partner school district or a neighborhood school district is, you know, after-school programs are a comprehensive but district-driven series of offerings. And there's always a host of very school-specific things that meet the needs of individual kids, but that it seems like other districts have taken the district-level initiative to help ease some of the burden, because I'm getting the sense that some of the variance between what's offered that isn't offered at near almost all of the sites is based on, like you said, whether or not teachers are able to do it or administration is able to engage teachers in that process. And so I just a question for the team is, you know, do we have anyone sort of at the district level, administrative level that is responsible for sort of helping the coordination of these events and activities. One, so that we maybe ease a bit of that burden away from our principals so that you can, maybe use your time in other ways, but also so that we have more of a collective, consistent kind of approach to our programs. I think individual sites will always vary a little bit, but I'm, somewhat concerned about the fact that, if we look at Excellencia and Loma Linda and a few of the other campuses, Papago and Creighton, that there are a few additional options above and beyond what everyone else has. And so the issue of equity or inequities is something that, I don't know how we address or get around. But
To go along with that, and also kind of talking about putting the teachers in the driver's seat more and giving them leadership roles. I know that the 21st Century teacher, Sherry Guerra at Gateway School, she's written that grant now for several years, and the possibility of maybe giving and she's gone through leadership training, so perhaps like a professional development for teachers who would want to learn how to write grants, because that's kind of an invaluable skill. And then it would take the burden off of the principals, and you have these teachers who are in the leadership kind of track, and maybe they could, somebody could facilitate, whether it's her or somebody else, but somebody could facilitate it and work on getting those grants for these kinds of programs, so it is more equitable.
And do the teachers at Gateway support grant writing for the 21st century?
Sure. The original one that was written by Kathy Keegar and myself, started it off, and then they kind of carried it on, and the teachers have taken on a little bit more. The one that was at Papago was actually written by teachers also. So, he has 2 sites that have done it in the past. It's a big piece to add on. So you have to make sure that you're 100% hard into it before you move it.
So, Jim, do we have somebody at the sort of a champion at the district level to help kind of?
We'll have to discuss that.
Yeah, because I was just thinking that when you said that, because I know a couple other school districts, they have pretty comprehensive Century 21 grants, but they have district level grant writers that write them for the schools.
A lot of the focus of our community ed looks at academic parent-teacher teams, so I know a lot of effort is moving in that direction to get parents engaged in supporting their students in after-school, at-home academic support that supports some of those foundational skills. So I know a lot of the effort from the and we do have a special projects director in community, and a lot of that energy has moved in that direction in the past few years, in addition to pretty strong parent programs too, that again, with that interwoven thread of what are the parents doing to support their children's academic performance, not only with homework, but with very specific skill development. And again, supporting parents as they get their GED and acquiring English and stuff. So it kind of has taken that turn over the past decade. But at one time, when the focus wasn't that, there was a community ed department that was, I really think, funded by outside resources because of the design of what they were doing at the school. So it's just a kind of a different focus at this point in time.
Dr. Boyle, are the parent-teacher teams at, how many of the schools are they at?
All of the schools have some academic parent-teacher teams. I don't have a list of each school, but some schools have it K through 8, and so there's a lot of energy focused in that direction. Can you talk a little bit about that at Gateway? Or
our focus is heavily on K3.
Uh-huh.
The reason we moved back to K3 a little bit more is we kind of provided that scaffolding for APDP and teaching our parents how to ask questions, and now we want to see if we back away a little bit. Are they still doing what we've asked them to do? Are they still asking the questions? Are they still challenging us in great ways that make us better? So with K-3 is our heavy focus, move on with reading, making sure the students are reading by the time they get to third grade. A lot of the parents have joined PTO on our site, so there might be another opportunity to look at the PTO and see if there's someone there that can just be the parent champion for that side.
One of the things I noticed just anecdotally is as we have scheduled for informational nights for the capital override, and I know when we approached Biltmore Prep, all of their 4 nights were busy because 3 of the nights were academic parent-teacher team evenings where parents and staff were there, and then the 4th night happened to be their PTO meeting. So we then had to go into October to schedule meetings. So there's a lot going on, but it may not be focused on a district-wide support.
What was that?
The informational meetings for the capital override.
Gateway would love to open their doors if Biltmore's this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Bob?
Just a couple of things. The biggest grant that we have are the 21st Century Grants. Those are not easy to write for or to win. Those are all guided by Pam Burkhardt, who is our district grant writer. And for those schools that had the buy-in for it, those were the ones that wrote for it, but not everybody was in a position. So that's part of that, what it perceived to be inequality. Secondly, in terms of your question, I would prefer to be, before giving any kind of an answer, sitting down with the leadership and having this conversation just about the perceived inequities and why they exist in the first place, and then go from there in terms of how we would organize and structure after-school programming.
Can I ask just to clarify, are teachers who help, our staff that help support these after-school programs, do they get credit for that? This isn't obviously like a curriculum committee or something else that they're participating in where they would obviously earn, some credit for their work. Do they get it for engaging in this type of work or support to students rather?
You can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Bachman or Dr. Boyle. In most cases, they can get credit as long as they're not getting paid for it. Once they get paid for it, it's an option.
Mhm.
They have one.
Okay.
And some of the positions are on the ancillary pay schedule, and they can get paid whether it's if it's a half year or a full year. Dr. Lugo can speak more to that, I suppose.
I was just thinking to incentivize those folks who might not, in an opportunity where there might not be, compensation for it. If that's, because I know later on our agenda, we're going to have our, other policies that we're going to be looking at and ways to incentivize teachers and things that we can consider doing. And so if that's, perhaps something that would encourage more participation, I just wanted to make sure that they're expending a lot of their time, energy, and resource to support our students in that. And I think you provided a lot of compelling evidence that all of these efforts in terms of building these assets in our students ultimately hopefully translate into the students that we're trying to create in terms of lifelong learners and resilient, human beings and engaging in our communities, as well as learning more and the academic side. So, that's all very well interconnected.
And I'm sure any of the principals would be more than happy to speak with any of you personally about what the great things they have on their sites. So please reach out. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on to the approve revisions to the standards evaluation systems for teachers.